Here we go.
Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony's coverage of stage 20 of the 2021 Tour de France. Today was the time trial that left from Libourne to Saint-Emilion. And the action was, basically, we focused on the top time trialists first and then the GC guys. So you can see there's some twists and turns, but there's really no climb per se like 10 months ago when they had the last tour where the TT was really full of a lot of serious climbs. This course got a little bump right there, 93 meters at Montagne. And other than that, it's really flat. Michael Berg of the UAE team set the fastest time early on, got in the hot seat, 50.3 kilometers an hour. Stefan Bissinger unseated him by coming in at 50.4 kilometers an hour, 8 seconds and 8 minutes and 8 seconds faster. The 2/10, that's 2/10 of a second there. I misread that. So it's 8 seconds and 2/10 faster than Berg. So Bissinger gets on the hot seat. He is with the Education First Nippo team. He's a serious time trialist. So he performed really well for the third week of the Tour de France. A lot of riders are kind of tired. So 30.8 kilometers, he did it in 36:37. He sat in the hot seat until Casper Asgreen got on course. Now, Casper Asgreen is a time trial specialist, and he really, really poured it on. He took 23 seconds out of Bissiger, unseating him in first place at 51 kilometers an hour, 36:14, covering that 30.8 kilometer course. Stefan Kuhn was another person we were watching, but although he started out fast at the intermediate point, the last third of the stage, he kind of faded. So he lost about 16 seconds to Asgreen because he was one of the guys that could unseat him. So for him, it was a disappointment. Wout van Aert poured it on. At 20.1 kilometers shown here, you can see the virtual classification. It's provisional because, of course, he still hasn't finished yet. But at this point, he had the fastest time versus Kuhn, Asgreen, Bissiger, and Berg. And remember, Asgreen is actually the leader right now. Van Aert kept the effort consistent. By the time he got, at this point here, he's 160 meters from the line. He's 33 seconds ahead. So he is virtually in first place. And you can see Asgreen's time down there is 36:14. That's the time he must beat. And he crosses the line 21 seconds faster than Asgreen. So 51.5 kilometers an hour. It was good to see this performance of Van Aert, especially the third week in the tour. He was a little disappointed at the last time trial because I guess he just wasn't going that well at that point. So it was good to see that he's ending this tour on decent form. Kelderman rode well enough to maintain his placing on the GC. So basically, he retains fifth place on the GC. He comes in 2 minutes, 20 seconds behind Van Aert. But his goal was to make sure that nobody in the top 10 per se unseated him. And he accomplished that. Vingegaard took time out of Carapaz. That really wasn't his goal because they were 6 seconds apart at the start. And his goal was to make sure he did not lose 6 seconds to Carapaz. Well, he's the better time trialist on paper. So Vingegaard got a minute 20 out of Carapaz. He's moving here at 55 kilometers an hour. These boys were smoking. Carapaz crosses the line 2 minutes and 8 seconds behind Van Aert's time, but he rode well enough to retain his third place. So he's going to be on the podium barring any incident on the final stage. Vingegaard crosses the line 31 seconds behind Van Aert, that wasn't his competition. Van Aert is not in the GC hunt. But he took third place on the stage, and he takes second place in the tour itself. So his performance is very consistent. That was good to see there. His goal wasn't to necessarily win this time trial. His goal was to make sure that Carapaz did not get him off the podium, because there is no way he's going to make up 5 minutes plus on Pogačar. So his goal was retain your second place on the podium, and he accomplished that. Pogačar rode conservatively, but he had a good effort, but he was not really going all out, you could tell. I mean, it's the third week of the tour. You're 5 minutes plus ahead. You don't need to win everything necessarily. And I think that he just didn't take any risks, but he comes in 56 seconds slower than Van Aert, which is not a concern for him because Van Aert is not even in the top 10, But he takes 8th place on the stage and retains his first place in the tour. There's the stage classification for the Etape 20 from Libourne to Saint-Emilion. You have Wout van Aert, 35:53 was the winning time. Casper Asgreen was 21 seconds slower. Vingegaard was 32 seconds slower. Stefan Kuhn was 38. So those four guys are pretty close together. And then you have Bissiger, Catania. Mattia Catania continues to impress. That's the Italian champion. And if you guys remember, he was not only going for green jersey points, he was climbing really well in the mountains. And so to see him here, a sprinter, climber, not a time trialist, he's a solid all around. So I'm going to keep an eye on Mattia Catania to do a lot of great things in the races that to come, because he has displayed a lot of versatility in this tour. So Berg and then Pogačar is 8th, and then Nielsen and Van Baal. So that's the top 10 in the stage. The general classification, of course, did not change. Pogačar is still up there. Vingegaard is 5:20 behind. Carapaz 7:03. Carapaz lost 2 minutes in the time trial. And then Ben O'Connor retained his 4th place. As I said earlier, Kelderman retained his 5th place. Then you got Enrique Mas, Lucenko, Guillaume Martin, and then Bilbao and Rigoberto Urán comes in 10th place at 18:34 behind the leader. That's the top 10 in the Tour de France. Barring any incident or anything that will happen, the Tour, this guy has defended his win last year. They are leaving tomorrow from Chatou to Paris, the Champs-Élysées. And the map pretty much shows that there's the route from Chatou to do a loop. This is like the shortest stage, 108 kilometers. It's probably like 65 miles. Let me do the conversion here just to get it exact. 67 miles. So this is probably other than time trials, this is the shortest stage. So it's really just for like a promenade or a procession or a parade per se of the riders for the people of Paris. They're going to arrive from Chatou the coup de grace there, that's a category 4. Then they come in. When they get to the Champs-Élysées, the sprint point is further up than it usually is, but basically they're going to do like a little circuit in town. So it's really just a formality at this point until the final lap when the sprinters go to try to win on the Champs-Élysées, which is a big deal. And hopefully the lead-out train of the Quick Step will be firing so that Mark Cavendish can possibly get stage win number 35 and break the tie with the cannibal, the greatest incomparable rider, Eddie Merckx. So tomorrow's highlight will be focusing on what happens on the Champs-Élysées. You can see one little bump and then they get in. It's just flat. They're riding around the cobbles and so forth. So there's not a whole lot of changes expected. Even if somebody has a mechanical in the top group, they get a bike, they get back in, So we don't expect anything to really change overall. So you guys take care when you're out there getting your Ks in, be safe, and no matter what, keep those doctors fired.